K-Rugs, the sober dog, coming at you. Today, I'm going to get into part 2 of the difference between crack and cocaine, and I'm going to get all about my experience with doing all of them. Unfortunately, I've tried cocaine in every form. Alright? As always, please, sober dogs and myself, do not condone or promote any drug use. These videos are for informative and educational purposes only. Also, I will have some pictures of drugs in this video. If that is a trigger for you, please skip it. I don't want anyone to be triggered, but I need to put the pictures up to get the information out there. Alright? Before I get into that video, hit that subscribe, hit that like, help me get more content out there. You guys are awesome. Let's get right into it. I've done shots of cocaine before where within 5 seconds after doing it, I knew it was too much and I was screwed. The effects is the key here, what we're going to talk about. So, if you snort a line of cocaine, all those time limits I just said are going to take effect like that. Depending on how good it is and how much you do, 10, 12 minutes in, you're really going to get that peak, high effect. And it's high, but it's not as high as the other ones. You're going to get a lot of that alertness. I would always get that alertness. Talkative, you want to talk your face off with people. Definitely you're going to, sweating, raise your temperature, raise your heartbeat, all those things like that. You'd be a little jittery. A lot of people do it before they go out to bars so they can drink more, be more energetic, things like that. Now, the only times I've seen like the major hallucination, paranoia effects with people snorting cocaines, and I'm talking like the major effects, is 2 specific times I'm thinking of when we were doing a ton of it. We were snorting it, but we were doing like line after line after line for hours straight, and it was very strong stuff. We're doing so much that we're starting to get those real high peak effects of extreme paranoia, racing heart rate, unbelievably talkative, dripping sweat, just borderline psychosis, even like those real high and strong amounts when snorting it, the coke bugs. You check out my other video, I'll put a link up all about coke bugs and crack bugs. Now, crack, in my opinion, is a whole different beast. It hits so hard, so quick, that all those effects I just said about that, hours of snorting cocaine, those can hit you with one hit of crack right away. Like, within a minute, you are peak bell ringer, paranoid, freaking, just, a lot of people get stuck. That's what they call it, too. I used to get this, too. You take a hit, and from, like, probably 30 seconds in to 5 minutes in, maybe 4 minutes, you're like just stuck. And it's not that like you couldn't move your body if you want to, it's just you don't want to. It's just your brain is so overloaded and experiencing that high, you're just kind of like in this place, sitting there like, with these crazy effects. After the initial probably minute and a half to 2 minute real high, you got like 4 or 5 minutes of a lower high coming at you. And then it starts to go down, and then it starts to wear away. I've done videos on the come down and articles. The crack come down probably starts hitting in about 12 to 15 minutes, and it's awful. Same with cocaine, same with injecting it. Just takes a little bit longer, but it's awful. Now, injecting cocaine was my main route for a while. Injecting cocaine, in my opinion, and from a lot of the research I've looked at, is definitely the most powerful. When you're snorting cocaine, it's going through your nose. It's got to get absorbed into like your mucous membrane and your nasal tissue. That goes down into your bloodstream, which goes up to your lungs, mixes with oxygen, and then sends the blood out to the rest of the body, to your heart to be pumped out, hits the brain. When you smoke crack, you cut out those first kind of 2 steps of the crack goes right to the lungs, mixes with the oxygen, and goes to the rest of the body, the heart to the brain. So you're cutting out that mucous membrane, mixing down to the blood, to the lungs, you're cutting that out so it's quicker. Injecting it, you're kind of cutting out even the first step of smoking crack. You are directly shooting this mix into your bloodstream, which goes right into your blood, mixes, it's going to go right to your heart, and then your heart's going to send it to the rest of the body, including your brain, which is where the high effects get it. So if I had to be real technical about it, in my opinion, I would say within 6 to 10 seconds after smoking crack, maybe 15, is when it's fully gone through that process and the high's kicking in. Injecting it, I would say, is like 7 to 10 seconds max. Like within 5 seconds, you're spaced out. You're feeling its full effects. I think crack and injecting it are on the same level of addictiveness, of paranoia, of psychosis, of coke bugs, of heart attack, of all that. They are both so quick and so strong, it just is overwhelming. And the problem with both of those two methods, but injecting more, more of a problem with injecting, is if you do too much, there's nothing you could do. Like, you're screwed. If you snort, like if you're doing, say you're on your 10th line of cocaine and you do it, the next 15 to 20 minutes before you do your next line, you might start to like get out of it a little bit and be like, shit, I did too much. I gotta calm down. Maybe even have time to like throw up, call ambulance, I don't know, do something to calm you down. With crack, and especially with injecting it, if you do too much, like that's it. It's hitting your body in seconds, and you don't have time to like, that's too much. I've done shots of cocaine before where within 5 seconds after doing it, I knew it was too much and I was screwed. All I could do was sit there and go along for the ride. Actually, what I used to do, and this is awful, I would pre-speed dial 911 on my phone. I would type 911 in an iPhone, and you know how you got to hit the green call button to call. So I would type it in, and I would do the shot because it was so strong, and I think, all right, I'm going to do a little bit less, but still, sometimes you don't know. And if after like 15 to 20 seconds or like a minute into it, it was so intense, I was hoping that if I couldn't move, I could just at least get my thumb to hit the green button and call police, and then in the background I could be like, help! That, and the other thing I used to do, which is really scary, is I would put my car in drive and my foot on the brake pedal. What I would do is I would do the shot, and my thought was, if I go out, if it's too much and I freak out and go out, my foot will fall off the brake. And I used to aim at like something I know wouldn't hurt anybody. So like if I was in a parking lot, I'd aim for a dumpster. And I'm only like 20 feet away, so, hopefully the gas wouldn't get hit and I would just roll and crash into the dumpster and somebody would call the cops. That was my thought process. That's how dangerous it is. That's also how addicting it is. Think about that. I would do a shot, speed dial 911. If I didn't have to call him that time because, okay, I didn't have to call him. 20 minutes later, I'm doing the same damn thing. Speed dialing 911 or putting my car in drive and my foot on the brake, doing it again. Just thinking maybe I should do a tiny bit less or, whatever. But you're so delusional at that point anyway, it almost doesn't matter because after that first hit, that first line, that first injection, the drugs are taking a hold. They're in your brain. You're not thinking the same way you did even 5 seconds before you did the shot. So they're really very dangerous, and it's just, the route of administration is a big deal, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying any of the ways are safe, but that route of administration, to me, you got snorting, is like, I don't know, a 4 out of 10 for argument's sake. I'm just trying to make a good analogy. Crack is like an 8 out of 10. Injecting is a 10 out of 10. But crack and injecting are right there. They're close. But they're just so powerful and so quick that you are bypassing any other methods, and you are just putting this drug straight to your heart to go to the rest of your body. You're bypassing any little other areas. So again, I don't condone or promote any drug use. It is unbelievably dangerous, but I think it's important for people to know the difference, because, you know, there's little things you could look for. If somebody is doing cocaine for months, snorting it, and then you all of a sudden see some of those little symptoms you noticed peak up, I would, you know, be willing to bet that either A, their addiction rapidly got really bad and they're doing a lot more than normal, or B, they switched the route of administration to crack or injecting. You know, you're going to see anger, paranoia, psychosis. You're going to see financial problems. A lot of, with cocaine, it destroys your mood. When you are not physically in that first 20-minute period after you've gotten high, you are miserable the rest of the time until you do more. So if you notice somebody who's going through that, and all of a sudden their miserableness, if that's a word, their anger, their terrible mood is just way jacked up out of the blue, I'd be willing to bet maybe they jumped to crack or injecting, and now they're getting, you know, a higher level of those withdrawal detox type symptoms where, you know, I've said this in other videos, that 20-minute period after the cocaine runs out, and any of these three methods, the after the high and then the kind of slow come down of the drug dissipating, you hit this period, and it lasts like anywhere between like 20 minutes and an hour, and it's the main come down. That is the most scary, dangerous, and awful come down period of any drug. I mean, it's, you know, it's like meth. That come down from meth, but meth lasts a lot longer. But during that period, people will go nuts for more drugs. I mean, that is the period when people are robbing other people, begging their family for more money. That's when you see in the movies, when you see somebody, yo man, you know, I'll suck you for $5. That person's in that period right there where you are willing to do anything. I'm not going to that level for me. I'm just using a movie example for another hit. And then after about an hour, you get a little bit of reality start seeping back in to where you maybe not willing to do that. But it is awful. You know, if you're normally a 5 all day long, then you do cocaine, you go up to a 13. When that come down period hits, you don't go back to a 5. You go down to a -5. You are just miserable. So it's very dangerous, and you know, those routes of administration are important and definitely a sign of an increased addiction when people jump from one to the next. And usually when you're at the point of crack or injecting, your addiction's pretty damn bad. So, but recovery is possible. There is help. All right, K Rugs, the sober dog. I'm out. See ya.